Namaste, beautiful soul. Welcome to the Blooming Lotus Healing Channel. My name is Jakara, and I am a spiritual healing facilitator. And today I'm going to offer a different type of video that I tried to do in the past. Back in 2020, I was doing videos where I was having conversations with other healers and other people that were in that healing and that self-healing journey. And I really got so connected to really inspiring others through um, really telling their stories and getting to know what they've been through in the past and how they got to where they are at the moment. So I had this conversation with a healer, a fellow healer. She is located in Australia, and her name is Antoinette Thompson. And the reason why I wanted to have a conversation with her was to really just support her in her journey of expanding tools that help people to connect with that essence and activate that self healer within. And she particularly is doing this through an oracle deck that she created from scratch. She created the all of the art and all of the information she channeled, and it's really a really special deck. I haven't received it yet. I actually did order it, and I'm waiting for it to come, but it's coming from far away. So I will probably do a video just going through the cards and share them with you in case you're interested in connecting to her deck. I felt very connected, even though I didn't touch the deck, but I felt so drawn to it because I felt so much of that essence of that process of the journey and connecting to each one of those stages of our journey and honoring all of them by taking the time to really reflect upon them. So that's the reason why I felt it's so important to support her work. And so we met online. I haven't met her in person, but I just felt so compelled to share her not only her story and her perspective and how she came about creating this deck, but also just to get you introduce her to you so you can get to know her. I feel she is somebody who deserves to be known and supported. So Antoinette Thompson is an intuitive healer, channel, and soul mentor. Antoinette believes that her mission is not only to heal people, but to activate, support, and empower the healer within towards personal evolution and transformation. She had a short lived career in business and finance, and she was abruptly plucked out of the only life that she knew. And she ended up into a long, difficult period of severe chronic illness. This period would serve as a preparation for her spiritual awakening. Only after this would she realize that the gift of this adversity really encouraged her to fulfill and embrace her soul's purpose. Her message is that living a life of purpose is one of simplicity and authenticity. This is achieved through healing and the soul from trauma and any restrictions that may be present, as well as triggers and conditioning accumulated through various stages of the eternal journey that we're on as souls. She is divinely guided, and she utilizes various skills and modalities to support and guide others and heal and connect to their soul. The modalities that she uses include Reiki energy alignment, trigger release, past life work, numerology, and oracle card readings. Her own journey of healing has now expanded her creativity. Her writing, as well as her art, have become a form of expression to inspire others towards purpose and self healing. She believes that together we will all heal, empower, and build new foundations based on hope and love from our own individual transformation of pain into purpose. This is basically her own words that I'm reading to you. But without further ado, I will go ahead and end this section of the video, and let's go ahead and transition to the next. All right. So welcome, Antoinette. I'm so excited to have you here.
I'm
And
so excited to be here. Thank you.
thank,
Thank you for
thank you.
inviting me.
I'm so excited because I've been following you for a little bit, and we met through the Hay House group, writers group, and one of the things that really drew me to you was your oracle deck, and basically the energy of your oracle deck just felt so right, and it felt so aligned with the way my own healing journey. And I was kind of curious to know, how do you get started in your journey? How did that look like for you?
How did my journey look like? So my journey looked like, I think I can sum it up in one word: pain. My journey was very painful, very, very painful. So I, unlike a lot of other spiritual light workers and healers and everything, I don't have memory of actually having these gifts when I was younger. So, and that sort of kind of makes a bit of sense, because I guess I did have some trauma in my early childhood. I was sexually abused when I was 7 by a family member. So I pretty much, that little 7-year-old Antoinette went into survival mode. So I blocked a lot. So, you know, I guess I had a normal life that stemmed from blocking my emotions. And I went to university. I did a commerce degree. I went into corporate, and I was this high-rising accountant when one day my whole world fell apart with the back injury, with a lower back injury. So that started, I mean, it's a long story, but I'll just, you know, pull out the good or the bad bits, whichever way you want to look at it. It's all about perception, right? So yeah, that started a 19-year process of chronic pain and illness, and a lot of lessons, and a lot of challenges, and a lot of obstacles, a lot of learning. But that brought me up to probably when about 9 years ago. So my mother passed away 9 years ago, and I had, I guess, what you call that spiritual awakening. It's so overused, that word. Like, you know, it's, everyone says, oh, you had your spiritual awakening, and everyone thinks it's unicorns and rainbows, but
It's never like that.
no, it kind of wasn't that. So I had a massive heart opening when I read a particular paragraph in an autobiography, and it was talking about pain, and it was talking about how pain is a seducer, and how you can get stuck in it, and how it will destroy you if you stay stuck in that pain. So when I read that paragraph, it was like this light bulb moment, and it was like, you know, a reboot. I felt something within me, and I had no idea what I was experiencing, because I was brought up Catholic, so I wasn't brought up around spirituality. I was brought up around religion. So, you know, psychics and all of this stuff is from the devil. So you don't dabble in any of this stuff. So I had no idea. And you know, after all the experiences that I had with illness, and I'm thinking, okay, what is this? What am I going to be diagnosed with next? You know, because I thought I was going a bit loopy. Anyway, and I just felt this energy rush, and I didn't understand it, but I knew in that very moment that my life was not going to be the same.
Wow.
It was just such a massive moment that it was like Control Alt Delete on the computer, reboot, restart, start unlearning everything that you ever have learned, because it's not true.
Wow. That's gotta be so powerful, that moment. Yeah, I know. I can't even imagine. And you know, you're pointing out, we talked about this on a previous time that we got on a call, the fact that we come with this programming, right? And it's interesting that you're saying the whole Control Alt Delete part. You know, we start with this programming that we are taught through either school or religion. For example, for you, it's Catholicism, and for me too, I had that. You know, I grew up Catholic too, so there's a lot of guilt around all of this stuff, a lot of you know, shame. It's just it's so difficult, because I feel like we have to go through all that crap to get to the other side, and it's sometimes a little overwhelming.
A lot overwhelming. I'm going to say a lot overwhelming, because it wasn't until I had to suffer this 19-year period of absolute devastation, challenge, illness, you know, inability, lost. I was just lost with no purpose. And then suddenly this switches on. And then a lot of my healing has been around understanding why I had to go through all of those challenges, like even the sexual abuse, like everything that I've been through in this lifetime, let alone previous lifetimes. But I didn't understand why. And we often go through, oh, why is this happening to me? Why is that person doing this to me? Why it's always to me. And we go into that victim consciousness. And I certainly was like, victim consciousness was my friend, like it was my ally. Like, why is this happening to me? And I went through that up until my early 40s, like from the time that I had my injury in my early 20s. Before that, I just blocked everything and everything was, you know, okay. But it wasn't. And the beginning of the healing process for me was beginning to understand that everything that had happened was happening for me, not to me.
That's powerful.
There's so much power in that, just in changing that word, and my whole body is like vibrating as I say it. But we always think that these things are happening to us and not for us. So the beginning of my healing was trying to learn that it had happened for me to get me to this point. So then I could understand and be, and not like, you know, walk the talk basically, because I had experienced all of this pain. I had experienced all of this. So it was like an apprenticeship, a long one, I'm going to say, a long and painful one.
Yes.
But it was an apprenticeship for me to step into the work that I do now, like, you know, being a healer. And because how can you really understand what people are going through? How can you support and empower somebody to see the purpose in their pain when you've had the perfect life? I mean, it's not going to work, right? It's not going to work.
Yeah, it's so interesting that you're saying that too, because I feel like, well, first of all, going back to that victim consciousness, you know, that you're mentioning, I feel like that's a natural step. It's almost like that grieving process that gets started there.
Oh, for sure.
And then suddenly we kind of go into the space of, you know, it gets very sticky. It can get very sticky there. And then we can, you know, but when we continue to do the work and we work through that stickiness, we can get to the other side and recognize, oh my gosh, we can see the silver lining behind all of it. And one of the things that you mentioned too, it's so powerful that you're saying, how can I be there for someone, you know, if I haven't gone through it? That's such a powerful statement. And I can't tell you how many times, countless times, I've received that message as well. Spirit has said, you know, you've been through these things because you can connect to people in a way that other people cannot, because other people did not go through those experiences. So that's the power that I feel that that's almost like the activation of the healer. Is like through that trauma.
Absolutely.
Right? You have
to. I could not have put it in better terms.
Yeah,
I could not have put it, you know, because, you know, I guess my little mission thing is activate the healer within. And I didn't realize all those years that in that pain and in that shame and guilt and all those things that you feel, that I was activating my healer within in order to activate and empower other people to activate their healer within themselves. Massive, right? Massive. But I didn't know it at the time.
Yeah, well, and I think that's the beauty of it though, right? Because when you go through that from that unconscious to that conscious state, then I feel it's such a sweet spot to find, because when you're able to go back and recognize where you came from and see how it's forged you to where you are now, and then you're able to say, wow, like I am worthy. And I've been through all this. And it doesn't mean that, and I want to be very careful with this. I don't mean to romanticize trauma or pain, but at the same time, it's also giving it the the place that it belongs once you get to the other side. Because once you get to the other side, when you come from that victim consciousness out of that into a place of gratitude for what you've been through, then it's not about really romanticizing. It's really more about recognizing how much is given you. It's been really working for you the entire time.
Absolutely. You've
So
said
I
that
love
so
that.
beautifully. So beautifully. You've said that so beautifully. And I think it gives you context. Like it gives you context, it gives you understanding, it gives you perception. And when you perceive as something to be hurtful or painful, and you can't find the light in it because it's just darkness, because it's causing you pain. And then it's the process of like, I often use the analogy of the phoenix rising, because it's very much my energy. Like I feel very very aligned to that, in that you then grow your wings and you start rising and you start looking at the destruction below you, but you see it from an observer's point of view, and you see it from a point of view of wisdom. And you're extracting the lessons and the gratitude, but you're releasing the hurt and the pain and the guilt and the attachment and all those negativity and all those emotions that are in my deck. But having that context, then, it was so powerful, because it inspired me to keep learning and healing and doing more inner work, and actually connecting to my shadow, which I was like so scared of connecting with.
Yes. That's such a powerful thing, powerful statement there, because I feel like we shy away from that. We are taught actually to shy away from
We
the
are.
shadow, and
We are.
to not only shy away, but even repress it in such a way that the shadow is still there and operating. It's just that
Mm-hmm.
it's at the unconscious level. So it's still gonna,
Mm-hmm.
you're still gonna have the reactions based on those shadows. But because we're not holding space for it, we're not even aware of what's in it, right?
That's
So
right. We're not aware of the triggers. We're not aware of how we get triggered. Like, for that first part of my life, up to 24 years old, like, I lived in the masculine. I lived in survival mode. Like, my feminine was completely suppressed because it had caused me pain,
right.
so I lived in the survival mode, and it was there. It was just really, it was like I folded all away in the drawer and locked it up and thought, yeah, I'm not going to deal with this until, I started to have my awakening. And then it was all still there during the whole time. It's just I chose not to connect with it, I guess.
So tell me a little bit. I'm a little curious about, and I would love for you to share the journey that
Sure.
you had from. Of course, you went through that journey of awakening, but then how do you get to the point where you said, okay, from there to the oracle deck? Like I'd like to know, how do you get there?
Wow.
Because I feel like the oracle deck that you created is directly linked to this, to help people
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
move from that, from all of these, from the stickiness over to the light, or
The light.
to the ease, right? The ease of understanding what's happening within them. And I feel like that's such a powerful thing and so needed. Because I've seen a lot of oracle decks out there, but there's nothing really that I've noticed that really walks you through in a step-by-step process. And I feel like your deck does that for people in such a simple and light way, but at the same time, very deep. So
Exactly.
I'm trying to understand. And the funny thing is, I haven't even held it, but I've seen what you've done. And I already know, I could just feel the energy, because I just connected to your energy so good, that I already knew what was your vision. So what I'd like to know is, like, what was that transit? Like, how was that growth from the moment that you had that awakening, and and you went and you decided, and then you realized that all of these things were happening for you? How did that transform into this beautiful oracle deck that you're offering to the world?
Wow. That's a biggie. That's a biggie. Okay, so my awakening happened 9 years ago. So in that first couple, probably in that first 7-year period, so my deck only started to come to life probably 2.5 years ago. But so in that 7-year period, I did a lot of work on myself. I went to, I did a lot of reading. I did a lot of personal development. I did psychic development. I did a lot of journeying. Like I used to be part of a lot of journeying circles where we go through a lot of our trauma and our shadow and bring it all up in meditation. The first thing though that I did was I actually started doing a thing called Kriya Yoga. And it was meditation. It was a type of yoga. It's a type of yoga, but it's meditation. It's Indian based, and it's based very much on the ascended masters. So I started doing that. And when I started doing that, I started to connect to myself. I started to hear myself, and the noise outside started to lessen. So I guess I went within. That's how I started my journey. I went within, and I started to join a lot of courses, and I ended up doing Reiki 1, and then I thought, okay, I'm just doing Reiki for myself, just to help me heal. And then they said, no, you've got to do the next level. So I started to connect with guidance. I think that was the first thing, and I did that through meditation, and I also did that through the spiritual development classes. So I learned how to connect with my guides and receive information and handle the fact that I wasn't going crazy. So, and the universe actually delivered people to me. People were popping up everywhere, very easily for me to learn, for me to unlearn all the conditioning that I had throughout my whole life. So it was a very long process of 7 years of inner development, like inner work, learning about my abilities coming out, connecting to my soul, like, trying to silence the ego, trying to silence the mind, and really connect to my heart. And through all of that came many dark nights, as we call them, dark nights of the soul, where you actually connect, to your shadow and all of that, and your triggers, and you go in and you actually acknowledge and you feel the pain and the trauma that you have blocked before. And I'm not going to say it was very easy, because the truth is it was not easy. And I was learning a lot of things, and spirit was showing me a lot of things, and I developed a lot of mediumship. And my mentor said to me the first time that she met me that I was a natural medium, and I thought, yeah, right, okay, you're crazy. I'm not, and I was still in a lot of denial, And so I started to receive messages, and spirit would come and, give me messages, and I would connect with my guides. But my writing journey did not start until 7 years later.
Wow.
Yeah. So I did all of that work in that 7 years beforehand to get to a place where, I guess, spirit, divine, God, whatever you want to call it, said, okay, you're ready. You're ready for the next step. I had to go through another apprenticeship of sorts, completely different to the one that I had gone through on the physical level. This was all about spiritual development. Like, this was not about my physical, illness or anything, but it was connected, because obviously the more I did, the more I healed, the better I felt physically. And I didn't realize that connection, until then. And in traditional medicine, we don't make that connection. We just focus on the physical. So my actual writing journey started on the Lionsgate portal, 8th of the 8th, 2018.
Wow, that's powerful. That's a powerful date. Wow.
Yeah, and I'm a Leo rising, so it made complete sense, right?
Yes.
I'm not an astrology guru at all, but I know that I'm a Leo rising, so everything was like, fitting in, joining in, clicking in. And I was in a healing session on that day. And my mentor, she said to me, there's spirit coming in. I've got an offer for you. And I was frightened. I thought, offer, okay, what, really? I have to do more than what I've been doing the last like 7 years, you know, because it was overwhelming, you know. And I said, okay, bring it through. And she brought it through. And I was literally offered a chance to write, an opportunity to write. And Spirit had said, here, like literally here, we give you this opportunity. You need to accept it or you need to reject it. You need to make a decision.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, what do I do? Like, what do I do? I don't know what this was. I don't know what it meant. It just came through as, well, you have this opportunity. You will have a guide that will help you with your writing. You need to connect with him. But it's your choice. It's your choice. And Spirit always gives us a choice, right?
Yes,
I mean, you know, it's up to us. It's up to us to make the choice. So I made the choice and I said yes, because I felt into my heart space, and I was really scared. Don't get me wrong, but I was like, yes, this is something that my heart and soul needs. It's a calling from my heart. It's a calling from my soul. It's something that I need to do. And I had no idea how it was going to look like or what it was going to do or how, what Spirit was going to ask of me. So I just said, okay, yes. Within a few months, you know, and it was sort of on my mind, but not on my mind. And I thought, you know what, Spirit would just give it to me when I need to. You know, I was starting to learn that surrender, which has probably been my biggest lesson. That surrender flow.
I think the surrender is a big lesson for a lot of us.
Oh, it's like, but I want to control, but I want to know, but I want to, you know. And it's like, no, you're not going to know. And I thought, okay. So I just went about, you know, my daily thing. And you know, I was actually working as a healer already at that stage as a practitioner, and seeing clients and helping them and supporting them, you know. And then I was bringing the shopping home one day, like, and I had bags in my hands, and this is literally the honest truth. And I was starting to receive what seemed to me like verses in a poem.
Oh, wow.
You know, at the time. And I thought, oh, okay, wait, I've got it. And, you know, I'm rummaging around for a pen and a piece of paper. And because you know what it's like when you channel, you have to do it because it just goes, like, you can't remember it, you know. And I knew that much at least. So they gave me the heads up, so to speak. And so I wrote it down, and it was a whole poem, and it was within about 10 or 15 minutes, like, you know, and my head was just spinning. And I thought, oh, I've written a poem. Okay. Oh, maybe this is what they want me to do. You know, and you know, I sat with it and I meditated on it. And the next probably 6 months, I wrote about 11 or 12 poems.
Wow.
And the poems were all based around significant events in my life. But I didn't see that at the beginning. You know, I was just crazily writing on scrap pieces of paper, and I had all these scrap pieces of paper around me. And I thought, okay, what am I supposed to do with this? Like, I thought, okay, trust, okay, surrender. I know, you know. And the funny thing was, the next step was, okay, you need to start drawing. And I said, what? You want me to do what? And by this stage, I still had doubt. Like, I always had doubt, like, you know, what I was receiving. I'm thinking, am I making this up? Like, you know, and I said, okay, you want me to draw? And I don't consider myself a drawer. I don't consider myself an artist of any sort, you know. Well, I didn't consider myself to be. And I literally went to, we call them like $2 shops in Australia. I don't know what you guys call them, but like, you know, bargain type shops where you can,
Yeah.
they've got everything under the sun.
Yeah.
And they said, go to the aisle and literally stand there in front of all the drawing, you know, utensils, paints, whatever, and we will show you what you need to use. So here, off I go into the shop, and I stand there. I'm looking around to make sure nobody's looking at me, you know, because, you know, you can't appear to be crazy. And I said, do you want me to paint? No. Do you want me to use this? No. Do you want me to use pastels? Yes. And I had no idea what pastels were. It's actually quite a funny story. And they said, you need to buy a packet of those. Take them home and play.
That's powerful.
And I didn't know really what play meant, because I had, you know, suffered that 19-year period of pain. Before that, I was so focused on my career and so focused on blocking my emotions. And even when I was a child, my mother was like a clean freak. So if I wanted to do anything like that, I had to do it outside, and I wasn't allowed to make a mess. So it was very suppressed in me, my artistic creation, like creative, the feminine side, right? It was very suppressed. So anyway, I started drawing, and they would tell me what to draw, and they would tell me what colors to use. And then came in, I realized I had a different guide that was a drawing guide. And I got to know him, and he was a very funny, cheeky Mexican poncho man. That's how he showed his energy to me. So it was all about fun, but he was very, very, very picky and very clear as to what colors, what even shade of color, what I was to draw. And they would tell me what to draw, and I would just draw it. But I didn't realize what I was doing. And then the next step that came was, okay, have your poems, choose a poem. And I would do this maybe once or twice a week. I would set aside 3 or 4 hours, choose a poem, pick out a quote from the poem, a line, and then do the drawing. And then one step further, do a channeled message.
Wow. That is so powerful.
But I had no idea what I was doing. It was like, I had the beauty of it all. The joke was on me, right? Because I had no idea what I was doing. Because they knew that if they had told me you were going to create an oracle card deck, I would have gone into, oh, I'm not good enough to do that. Oh, I can't do that, you know, and all of these, you know, negative emotions. So they allowed me to play.
That is such a beautiful energy to be connected with while you're creating your deck. Wow, that's high vibrational. The energy of joy and play.
Yeah. And I've got goosebumps going right through me right now, but that's how it was. And I started to post some of these channeled messages on social media and post the drawings, and the drawings were very simple, like very innocent, very simple, not overdone, you know, and I would put them up on social media, and my teacher would see them, and she said to me, Antoinette, I need to have a chat with you, you know. And I said, okay, what have I done, you know? And she said, we had a chat, and she said to me, you realize what you're doing, right? And I said, yeah, I'm just playing. I'm just having fun with some pastels that, you know, they make a mess, and I'm really having a good time because my hands like get really, you know, dirty, and everywhere gets dirty and all that. And I wasn't allowed to do that when I was a kid. And she said, no. She said, you realize that this is what they were talking about back on the Lionsgate. And this was probably 6 months, 7, 8 months after like that original, you know, channeling. And she said, you're creating an oracle deck. And I said, no. I said, no way, you know, no way. This is not going to be a deck. What are you talking about? Like, you know, And she said, I said, I'm just doing this for fun. And she said, you don't realize that your guides, the biggest joke has been on you because they haven't told you what you're doing. They just allowed you. And I'm thinking, I've been had this whole time. Like, it was actually quite funny because they were very, very smart in doing it the way that they did, because they knew that if they had told me you're going to do an oracle deck, I would have freaked. Like, I would have just freaked out, dropped everything, gone back into my shell, gone like, no, and gone back into a lot of self-doubt, and self-sabotage. So that is the process of how 55 cards came to life.
Wow, that is, and to hear this, and I don't know, I'm learning this story now.
Yes,
and
you
as
are.
I
Yeah.
hear it feels so magical. It just feels so magical to be able to connect to your joy and to the play of just getting messy and being a kid again. And if you think about it, when we are seeking to heal, we're really truly trying to get back to that state.
Absolutely.
And so it's interesting because the energy that you've imprinted into these cards are basically that, or that stage of freedom and that stage of expression and being carefree, right? And that's exactly the reason why I just love, again, like that's the reason why I just loved the energy of the deck, because I could see the playfulness and the innocence coming through it. It's just so beautiful. And I mean, I don't even have to hold them in my hands, which I will be ordering, of course, the deck, because I told you I will order it. But yeah, I guess I do. I want to play with it because I just feel like there's so much of the essence of healing that's in there just by playing with it. So I wanted to ask you, you do have your deck, right? So I just wanted to ask you if you could pull a, some cards and then show us. Maybe you can do like a little bit of a reading. I don't know. We'll see. Whatever comes through, we'll just let spirit take over and see if you wanted to share that.
Sounds good. Yeah, absolutely. It would be my absolute pleasure. Thank you. Okay, so the deck is called Pain to Purpose. So this is the box. And as you see, it's all around balance, and it's all about the yin and the yang, and the feminine and the masculine. And as I said, everything was guided, the colors, the shapes, the everything, the pictures, the images, everything. So very much around the heart, with the green and the pink. And then the gold around is the higher purpose, like the higher chakras. So, and I called it a healing oracle because it is a healing oracle, and it is the oracle pretty much of my healing journey from pain to purpose. And that's why it's called Pain to Purpose. So, yeah, so basically 55 cards, and also comes with the guidebook. So the guidebook contains all the channeled messages that relate to each image, and it's got a little bit about how to use the cards and an introduction and inspiration around it and things like that. So that's a 140-page guidebook. And then I also did these beautiful inserts. Pain is where we grow.
Beautiful. Yes.
And within your passion lies your purpose.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
And again, the green and the pink.
So you're keeping
representing the heart chakra. Yeah. So on the back of the cards we have, so this was also given to me, everything was given to me. So that's a half a heart there, and then the back of the card is that. So it's representing of half a heart, like a half open heart, and then doing the work and having the whole heart come to life. It's like, a plant growing and then blooming fully. So very, very metaphorical. My deck is very metaphorical. It's deeply embedded in symbolism and images. But the best thing is, even though it's based on my journey, it's your individual journey. It's open to interpretation. It's everybody's interpretation. So it's the goal is to make it your own and to relate it to your own healing journey. So I'm going to show you the first card, because this is the one that was on the top of the deck. So this is guidance. And then the quote from the poem is, messages I began to hear surprisingly without fear. So, yeah, so it's the good old little telephone that a lot of you won't remember, because
this is the old school phone.
Remember the old school phones?
Yes.
Where we, I don't know if you would even remember, but there may be some people out there that, hopefully there's some people out there that can remember, that you used to have to put your finger in the hole and actually,
yes.
I think they used to call them rotary phones.
Yes, I used to have those in my home growing up when I was a kid.
You remember?
Yes,
okay.
I remember those.
Yeah. So I'm sure there's people out there having a laugh now that are watching this, but it's pretty much having a telephone line to your higher guidance. So again, a very simple image, and open to interpretation. So it's a case of, okay, what does this mean to you? What does this word, when you pull out this card, or when the card chooses you, as I believe happens most of the time, what does it mean to you? What feelings is it stirring up in you? Read the quote. How is it sitting with you? Or does it simply mean that you have to tune into your guidance? There are so many different levels, and it's a case of really an individual and how far you want to go, how deep you want to go. Like you said earlier, it can be a simple case of shuffle and have a card fall out and look at it and just think, oh, okay, they want me to listen to my guidance. Okay. And then that's enough. Or it could be like I say my deck is like a self-healing tool. It activates within you the power to heal yourself by going into your triggers, your trauma, your challenges, your restrictions, your pain. And then it's really up to you whether you want to do the actual deeper work and go to the channeled message that's in the book. And then also, it could be a journal prompt, it could be a meditation prompt, it could be a reflection prompt, it could be you may want to meditate on the picture or reflect on the image and see what comes up. So there's a lot of different ways that you can use the deck. I guess it's not a traditional oracle deck as such, but it can be used as one. You can still shuffle it, or you can work through every single card and relate it back to your own journey. And it's all at your own pace, and it's all at your own resonance, and it's all at your own interpretation. So I get it now that Spirit wanted me to create this, because not everybody can afford to go to healing sessions. Not everyone can, individual healing sessions. So the energy behind it was to use it as your own self-healing tool.
That is so beautiful, Antoinette, because it's true. There's a lot of people that don't get the chance to go to healers because a lot of times they don't have the funds,
the resources. They don't have the resources. Money. It's simple as that. It's or they may not be able to access. Although these days with the internet, it's accessible.
Yeah.
But to have individual sessions is expensive.
Yes, definitely. And oh my gosh, like just learning all this about your deck makes me want it so much more. I cannot wait to order it and have it on my hands and play with it. And just because, and this is also another thing I wanted to say too, because yes, we talked about this could possibly for those of you who are watching this and you're starting your journey and you're looking for ways to help yourself, this deck could be very helpful. But for those of you who are watching this, who have done the work, I feel like this can also help you go back to those very simple, like almost like back to the beginning, right? Because sometimes we do have to do
Basics.
that. Back to basics. Yeah, basically. Because what happens is that we go through the journey and we're like, oh, I've done all this work, but then we forget that there's so much more that we have to do throughout our life. Like we were talking about this a couple, last, I can't remember if it was the last week or a couple weeks ago, we were talking about it. But I know for me, I'm continuing to do the work for myself, right? Like I continue.
We always do. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, it's, I feel like this earth is a journey, not a destination. And the entire journey is basically that inner work. Even when you are unconscious about it, there's that's still part of the process. That's still part of the experience, is to go through all of that unconscious state to get to that conscious state. For those who are meant to get to that conscious state, but even for those who are on the unconscious state, there's a purpose for them too, and there's a reason why they take it back.
Absolutely.
But I feel like this deck could help those of us, right, to get back to basics, and to, especially when we're going through those other humps throughout our experience here on this planet, the healing experience, to go back and say, okay, what can I focus on right now to help me ground myself into what I need to do, and do, and whatever work that I need to do at this moment, because everyone's going to be different, of course.
That's right.
What would you tell people who are basically looking for something that will help them heal, and they're considering your deck, and how would you recommend them using it, if it's somebody who's never used a deck before, somebody who basically is even new to this whole healing experience, they're kind of just finding out, they're just waking up, like how would you recommend them to use this deck?
That's a good question. Well, if you're new to all of this, and you're probably in a very big state of confusion, like I was, and not knowing where to go, and probably the biggest lesson that I've had to learn after surrender is listen to your intuition. But the thing is we have to do some work to be able to hear that intuition because of all the conditioning. So the way that I would suggest that you use it is actually open it up and sit with it. Just sit with it in your hands. And it doesn't require any sort of spiritual advancement or whatever, it doesn't matter where you are on your journey. We've all experienced these emotions that are in my deck, all of them. We've experienced all of them. We all have. And sit with them in your hands and feel the energy that is invoked in them, and just sit with them, and just, shut off your phone, shut off everything, just have a little bit of time to just sit with them, and try to connect your heart with them, and try and switch off your mind and just sit with them and feel. Just simply be and simply feel. Hold them in your hands and look at, just easily, just like, not meditate, but just one, put down, next one, put down. Oh, do that. Oh yeah, I can relate to that, and just have a look at each card. And whether you spend 5 minutes or you spend 1 hour, it doesn't matter. I always say baby steps. When we're starting our journey, everything feels so overwhelming. So the key is not to overwhelm you further, not to overwhelm yourself further by saying, oh, I don't know how to use this deck and I want to use it. There's no right or wrong, and I want to stress that, in that, most decks have, we have experience with decks, obviously, but most decks have instructions on the spreads, on, how many cards to draw. I don't have any of that with my deck. In my guidebook, I do not have any suggested spreads. I do not have any really suggested ways. I do write a few notes for people that, you know, are starting out and don't know where to start. So that's pretty much what I'm saying now. Actually connect with the deck, connect on a heart level, on a soul level, and if you happen to be, you know, going through the 55 cards and one really resonates with you, perhaps stop at that one. Perhaps, okay, what do I want to do with this? Oh, I'm just going to look at the image for now. You know, there's no pressure. Like, there's no, it's all about self-interpretation. It's all about self resonance, and it's at your pace. So there's no pressure to do a 3-card spread or a 6-card spread or a 10-card spread and then have to look at the guidebook to see what each card's supposed to mean. No, they said to me, no, there's none of that. This is for everyone, wherever place they're at, whatever state they're in, to just reflect and to just feel. So the you know, all I can suggest is to feel what comes up in you. And if nothing comes up in you, that's fine too, because the seed is already planted, you know, into our subconscious. So, you know, you might think, oh, but I'm not getting anything from this. That's totally fine. You know, the next time you sit with it, you might, the next time you might not, but it's there in your subconscious. And just the energy, you know, these cards are full of energy, and it's just to take in the energy is enough. Like, you don't need to do anything more. So I hope that answers your question, but it's just to feel, you know.
Yeah,
it's
to
just
feel the cards.
yeah.
And I feel like it's also, and I love what you're saying, you know, that's important to not put pressure on ourselves, especially
Yeah.
because we, you know, when we're starting our journey, we start watching videos, we start reading articles, we start talking to other people who may be further down the road, and then we feel, you know, like sometimes
Overwhelmed.
inadequate or sometimes
Yeah.
overwhelmed, and like, am I doing this right? Am I doing so?
Yeah.
Really, the reality is that the right way is the way that you feel
Is right.
is what is right. So if you want to pull one a card or 3 cards, at least that's what I'm hearing from you, is that, you know, if you want to look at
Absolutely.
all of them and like look at them, you know, there's no right or wrong in this process. So that's beautiful. And I love how flexible, you know, the flexibility you've given
Yeah.
to the deck. Now, what would be the recommendation that you give, for example, like somebody like me who's done some work? I have like so many decks on my, like you can see, I have so
Yeah,
many
me
decks.
too.
Somebody like
Behind
me
me
who's
as
got a
well.
lot of decks. What would you recommend somebody like me who's coming in from, you know, reading lots of decks and doing all these things? How would you recommend somebody that's been using other tools like this to use these cards?
You know, it's interesting because I would say use them in the same way.
I love it. Yeah, I figured you were going to say that.
Yeah, yeah, because I don't see any difference in someone that is, you know, we are all where we are meant to be, and we are all one, we are all connected. So it doesn't matter that if you're still starting, or perhaps you've been a practicing healer, or, you know, you see clients like both of us do, and it doesn't matter, because I believe that the healing journey never ends. You're
Yes.
always doing the work. And how many times have we said to ourselves, really? I thought I healed this. Really? This is coming up again? But there's multiple layers. Just as like we are multiple dimensional beings, there are multiple layers of healing. And my belief is it never ends, and we can always go that step deeper, that layer deeper. We can always. So I would just suggest use it the same way.
I love that. Thank you for that. Yeah, I knew the answer before you answered it, but I was wondering if maybe you had something else. But it's true though. I love that you're bringing us back to basics and bringing us back to the simplicity of how we're meant to connect and seek the guidance, which is really just that intuition, that activating that
Yeah.
intuitive connection to your deck. So I just wanted to ask you one more question and then we will go ahead. We're almost at the end of this. If you could tell me one thing that you feel has, or at least one sentence that you feel has changed your life for the better, like something that you've heard maybe from somebody that has told you this, or maybe you've read it somewhere, what would be like a sentence that you would want to leave behind for the end of this conversation?
I'm thinking about the paragraph that sort of was the catalyst for my awakening, but I'm looking at it right now. And I'm gonna, so it's the end, the last two sentences. They're only short, so I think I might leave everyone with those because it was what, flicked off the switch for me. Okay, let's do it. It's okay to feel hurt. It's human. It's important to feel, but you cannot cling to sadness, distress, or bitterness for too long, because they will inevitably destroy you.
Thank you so much, Antoinette, for this beautiful, beautiful conversation. I hope that you come back. Well, I hope that we get to do another conversation.
Absolutely, that would be amazing.
Yeah, I'm so grateful for you. So thank you.
So grateful for you. Thank you. And thank you everyone for watching.